of beauty. Home to over 52 million people, Ukraine's rich soil and rolling plains make it the breadbasket of Europe. Yet in this land of plenty, there are incredible hardships as a new nation struggles to emerge from the shadow of 70 years of Soviet rule. Adjusting to a new way of thinking and living requires time and sacrifice, and the area that is suffering the most in the new Ukraine is its healthcare system.
Well, I think the thing that surprised me the most on my first trip was I was really taken aback by the isolation of the medical culture there. I didn't realize that they were so cut off from the rest of the world.
The great difficulties which we encountered initially were, number one, that the infrastructure was either non-existent or in a state of decay. The equipment in the nurseries was either very old but functioning, or malfunctioning, or indeed completely useless. Even the buildings themselves were generally older, were not designed as intensive care units at all, and had significant problems with basic things like hot water, heating, lighting, that sort of thing.
Sometimes when I work with my patient, I try to work only with my eyes, ears, with my knowledges, experience, and now I know how we have to work. We have to work with all equipments, with X-ray, ultrasounds, and a lot of lab techniques that you have. And it's a great difference between Ukraine and Canada.
In 1986, the world's eyes turned to Ukraine with news of a nuclear reactor meltdown in Chernobyl, the worst nuclear assault mankind has ever known. While many died, it was the most vulnerable and the most precious who suffered the greatest: the children. Rushing to help the innocent victims of Chernobyl, many Canadian doctors traveled to Ukraine, where they witnessed issues more pressing than radiation.
I think the thing that surprised me probably the most is when I first encountered diphtheria. Now, this was on my second trip to the country, and diphtheria is a infection that we generally have thought is confined to the poorest countries of the world. And this clearly related to the fact that their immunization policies and their immunization practices were so poor and so far behind.
The legacy that we would like to leave behind, the legacy of Medical Project Osvita, is healthier mothers and children. Ukraine is probably the only place on earth where they have documented an actual decline in the quality of health care.
Chernobyl's Children Project was founded in 1992, focusing on physician exchanges between Ukraine and Canada, resulting in many improvements in children's health care in Ukraine. This successful program was expanded to provide specialty training in obstetrics, gynecology, neonatology, and pediatrics to improve the quality of health care provided to mothers and children in Ukraine. The name for this educational program is Osvita, the Ukrainian word for enlightenment. Through Medical Project Osvita, Canadian physicians from each of our nation's 16 medical schools have made 173 teaching missions to Ukraine, sharing their medical knowledge with their Ukrainian counterparts.
We introduced ideas about exchanging information with patients, getting informed consent for procedures, trying to humanize the technological side of it. For example, you'll see here lots of teddy bears and dolls and things in the ICU. The fact that I'm not wearing greens or a gown makes me less intimidating to parents. When we introduced those ideas first in Ukraine, people were shocked.
5 years or 6 years ago, no parents were allowed to come in to see their newborn. It's terrible.
Once they got to realize that the people in Osvita weren't going to preach the Western way of dealing with things, that we were willing to work with them to try and solve the problems locally in their own way, and that we weren't telling them that everything in Ukraine was terrible and everything here was wonderful. Those kind of messages made great differences in the long term.
The Ukrainian postgraduate training program has given 69 Ukrainian pediatric, maternal, and neonatal specialists the opportunity to study for up to 4 months in Canada. Returning to Ukraine, these specialists share their new knowledge with their colleagues.
When I returned from the first time from Canada, mortality in our hospital was 10.3 per thousand. And now, after 4 years past of my education in Canada, the mortality in our hospital is 3.2. It's a great changes. For us, it's only numbers, but for every mother, it's her child. Osvita, it's multiple program, not to give us only knowledges of our profession, but to be sensitive people. Maybe it's very important to be physician. It's maybe the same as to be a painter, to have a soul and to have a talent. If you are not talented in medicine, and that talented blossom in your units, in your hospital, not only to be physician, but to be a people, kind people.
Medical Project Osvita has also given 17 senior medical administrators the opportunity to study maternal and child healthcare delivery systems in Canada, aiding Ukraine in creating more effective and efficient healthcare administration. At Kyiv's Children's Hospital No. 1, modern biochemical and microbiological laboratories were established and now serve as the central labs for all of Ukraine. As well, Medical Project Osvita has helped place much-needed medical journals and textbooks into the National Medical Library in Ukraine and has provided the library with a vital internet link. Despite the positive impact Osvita has had on Ukraine's healthcare system, this valuable program is in a critical state due to lack of funding. For the past 3 years, the Canadian International Development Agency, CIDA, has funded Medical Project Osvita. However, this funding ended on December 31st, 1997. Thanks to generous donors and prudent financial decisions made by Osvita, this important program has been able to continue up to now. Since its inception 6 years ago, 99 doctors have donated over $3.5 million of their professional time to Osvita's teaching missions and to mentoring the Ukrainian postgraduate training program. Corporate donors have also stepped up to the plate, donating badly needed medicine and equipment to Ukraine's crumbling hospitals.
What people need to realize is that the highway from Asia to Europe goes through Ukraine. It's a funnel, and through that funnel passes all the infectious disease, the tuberculosis, the hepatitis, the sexually transmitted diseases. That's the road to Europe, and anything that's in Europe is a skip and a hop from us. So in terms of infectious diseases alone, it's critical that we as a country and that the world realizes that this funnel has to be controlled, and Osvita has an opportunity through education to do something about this.
After 6 successful years and $6 million of support, Medical Project Osvita has a proven track record and a reputation of excellence in international medical circles.
Osvita has established a really important relationship with the healthcare authorities, the government authorities, with hospital officials. We have the respect of these people now, and we have their trust. And I think that took a long time to establish, that they could really trust us from the West. And I think that now that foundation, that base has been laid by Osvita, I think it is really important that we continue to nurture those links and keep that going. The task has begun, and we have done a lot, but we've now established the kind of framework and the kind of connections that need to be nurtured. We need to go forth from there. There is so much more that could be done, and they're eager to learn from us.
The view of Canada in Europe is, first of all, very positive, but also greatly enhanced by any kind of humanitarian projects like this in Europe. We are looked upon as a leader in terms of helping underprivileged societies like the one in Ukraine.
An old saying states that you can give a man a fish and he will eat for a day. If you teach that man to fish, he will eat for a lifetime. By sharing Canadian medical knowledge with Ukrainian physicians, Ukraine's children can enjoy a healthy childhood.
The other thing that Osvita has done is tried to concentrate on the doctors and the other healthcare professionals who are now forming the basis of the new healthcare drives. Because the only change is going to come with the people who are coming up now in the system. Even when they say they want to change, they don't know how to change. One of the things that the communist system did is it really deadened initiative incredibly. People were taught very much how to take orders, but they weren't taught how to run with their own ideas. So I think that the hope in changing our healthcare system is changing the culture of the doctors that are now germinating, that are coming up through the system now.
I really like my job. I work with newborn. It's the best in our life, and I think that newborns, it's our future.
To ensure not only the health of Ukraine, but of all our global village, Medical Project Osvita is currently raising funds for a chair to continue its vital educational programs.
This isn't something you can do as a year-to-year project. It requires a long-term commitment. And the establishment of a chair would give us this opportunity to make the differences that are necessary. That may take a generation.
The other former Soviet bloc countries, particularly Russia, are certainly very, very needy. And I think Kiev, as the center, could play a very major role in dissemination of information. I think establishing a chair an endowed chair in international health would be an enormous step in giving this project the kind of prominence that it needs to continue its leadership role. I mean, we've really started a wonderful thing here, and it really needs to keep rolling to achieve its potential.
This is a project that I know Canada can be proud of. I know it's a project that Canadians, Albertans, Edmontonians, the University of Alberta can contribute to and make it work.
I think it's really important that Canada back Osvita, and we put our muscle behind this because we're a very privileged country. I get very tired of all the whining and complaining I hear about so many things in our country, particularly related to our healthcare system. Whereas if you step foot out of our country and look around the world, you realize quickly that we're really on top of the heap. And so why should we? Because a lot's been given to us. And I think, to those who have been given a lot is expected.
I want to use my opportunity to say to everybody in Canada, great thanks from all us and from all newborns and happy mothers which lived in Ukraine. For you, it may be only some dollars, but for us, it's a smile of every newborn. That's why I want to don't say only thanks, great thanks, but I want to make a great bouquet of flowers. It means all smiles of my angels newborns. Thank you very much not only from me, from all newborns, from all happy mothers, fathers, from all Ukraine.
The work of Medical Project Osvita must continue. A measure of any society's worth is often seen in how well they help those that are less fortunate. Here in Canada, we've been very fortunate with an excellent healthcare system that has become a model in other parts of the world. Many of the sons and daughters of the Ukraine have helped build this Canadian model. It is now our opportunity to help those less fortunate in Ukraine as a result of the Chernobyl disaster. Individuals such as Ehor Gauk, Bernie McCoy, and David Reed have been living examples of this type of work. I fully support the establishment of the Osvita Chair in International Health. In this chair will sit an individual that will help coordinate much of the work in international health in countries that are less fortunate. The university has an obligation to extend beyond our borders, and we in the faculty are doing this through the Osvita Chair. I urge you to support this chair. Thank you.